some time now, there has been a thinking among a certain group of people in America that liberals set the pace when it comes to culture in this country. And those on the left would argue they are indeed the side that has America's best interests at heart. And history, they will say, has shown us that at times they might be right. As to why that happens, maybe it comes down to conservatives making the wrong choices when it comes to causes. And in turn, that may be a greater reason why those on the right may win their fair share of elections, but are never able to convince people they have all of this nation's best interests at heart. The new book is entitled Why Liberals Win the Culture Wars, Even When They Lose Elections. The author is a New York Times bestseller and a professor of religion at Boston University. I spent a lot of time in the Hub and enjoyed every minute of it. Pleasure to welcome Stephen Prothero to the Hard Line. Stephen, thanks so much for joining us. And when I first read the title of the book, said, wait a minute, this is nothing new. This has been going on and you dig right into that. It's not like this is something that just hit us over the head. This has been going on for hundreds of years.
Right. I mean, I grew up thinking the culture wars were something new, that all of a sudden Americans were agitated about abortion and homosexuality and family values in the 70s and 80s. And as I started looking into it to work on this book, I just found that, the culture wars are really perennials that go back almost to the beginning of the American Republic, where we're trying to hash out what it is to be an American and what America is all about.
So then why is it, in your opinion, and after you've done all the research here, that liberals almost always prevail when it comes to culture wars?
Well, there's a few reasons, but one that you hinted at in the opening is that conservatives tend to pick lost causes, and they sort of pick them on purpose because the feeling that's being conjured up in the culture wars is this sense that the nation has somehow changed and moved away from our form of life, that the form of life that we value is slipping out of our hands and is being lost. And that sort of palpable sense of anxiety and even fear sometimes that the culture wars conjure up, you can conjure up better when there's a real issue that really is going your way, right? So when Catholics are finally starting to become a large presence in a city like Cincinnati or a city like Philadelphia, or when homosexuality is emerging and there are more and more gays and lesbians who are coming out and who are agitating for gay marriage. So there's this strange logic that I discovered while I was working on the book, that conservatives sort of win by losing. They win elections by picking causes that show them to be aggrieved and show them to be losing to secular humanism or to moral relativism.
Now, you mentioned that culture wars have always been religious wars. So when you talk about those lost causes that in your book the GOP is going after, give me an example of one or two of them.
Well, one of them now is Islam on religion, but the ones in the past that I focus on are really anti-Catholicism and anti-Mormonism. Anti-Mormonism was this amazing crusade that involved, multiple 4 or 5 different State of the Union addresses for presidents, Supreme Court ruling against the Mormons, an extermination order by the governor of Missouri, the tar and feathering of Mormon leaders, the mob assassination of Joseph Smith, who was the founder of Mormonism. Really quite amazing crusade against Mormonism in the name of morality, in the name of American values, in the name of the fact that they were taking marching orders from their leaders in the same way that maybe Catholics were taking marching orders of the Pope and weren't like proper voters and citizens. All these kinds of things factored into the anti-Mormonism of the 19th century.
About 90 seconds I have left here then. How does the GOP, in your opinion, get back on track and win every election and make all the right choices and make sure that they are on the side of the culture wars that will at least get people to say, yeah, you got it, we need to vote for you?
Yeah, well, I'm not the best person for the advice there. I'm sort of more of a backward-looking historian than a forward-looking.
Well, but based on that history, though, based on that history,
but,
what would you say?
Yeah, I think that the strategy that the GOP is pursuing right now is actually a very good strategy for winning local and state elections. And it's in the pockets of real cultural conservatism where white evangelicalism is strong. It actually makes sense to be talking about fears about Mexicans coming over the border and fears about Islam. That all works at the local level. The problem with the GOP right now is they're running people for president, and in order to become the Republican nominee, you need to conjure up these culture wars. They're going to help you get the nomination, but then they're going to kill you in the national election. So we're in the middle of a culture wars election. It's really not about economic inequality or about, bread and butter spending issues. It's around cultural questions, and whoever wins that primary is going to have a really hard sledding in order to win the presidency.
I got about 15 seconds left. In your opinion, looking at the current GOP field, is there anybody there you believe that gets it, that understands how to win the culture wars now?
Well, I think Rubio started out trying to be more conciliatory around the immigration question, trying to reach out from the GOP more establishment position to Hispanics and Latinos, but he's running to the right because he's getting in trouble and he's trying to outflank Cruz and Trump. So I really don't see anybody who's going to really appeal to the center of the country.
But it is a good
questions.
education. We want to remind everybody we're out of time. Why liberals win the culture wars even when they lose elections. Stephen Prothero, thanks so much for joining us on The Hard Line.